Today we're going to be learning about the woman of Tekoah. Have you heard of her? She is spoken about in 2 Samuel chapter 14, and she was used really uniquely in an even more unique way to bring restoration to a family. Thank you for joining today. Well, friends, let me give you the backstory about what has happened here before we pick up in 2 Samuel chapter 14. What has happened is King David, has many children, and one of his sons ends up raping a sister. One of the sons rapes a sister, and then another son of King David's kills that brother of his who raped that sister of his. And so because of this, it has just caused a division, as you can imagine. Many people were hurt over this situation. And within David's kingdom, Absalom is wanted for his life. He's hunted for his life because of what he has done. He has killed, right? So that sin of that sexual assault, it didn't just end there. It continued and brought about more sin. And so Absalom is the one who ends up committing murder because of what has taken place. There is now division within David's family. David has not seen his son Absalom in about 3 years. He has been banished from the kingdom, and he is basically out in hiding. And so what we pick up now is in that story about 3 years later. So let's start reading in 2 Samuel chapter 14 and in verse 1. It says, "Now Joab, the son of Zeruiah, perceived that the king's heart was toward Absalom." So Joab was one of the advisors to the king. He was one of the chief military people within David's kingdom. And so he is now perceiving that David is missing Absalom. Now look at verse 2. "And Joab sent to Tekoah and fetched thence a wise woman." Let's pause there for a minute. We don't actually know her name. We're not given her name. But she is referred to as the wise woman of Tekoah. So Joab, now he sees that David misses his son Absalom. He sends to try to reconcile. Well, how does he do that? He sends for this wise woman from Tekoah. That's where she's from. Now, just to give you a little bit of a better perspective on this is relating it in another way. Tekoah was south of Jerusalem and not by far, and maybe just a few miles. And also Tekoah ends up being the birthplace of the prophet Amos. Later in scripture, he has not yet been born, but maybe about 150 years or so after this, the prophet Amos is born in Tekoah. So that's unique to the story and the biblical relationship here. But this woman of Tekoah, she's going to need to be very good at speech. She's going to need to be able to be persuasive and persuading people. But she's also going to need to be good at acting, and you're going to see why that is. She's going to need to be able to act. So possibly she was in some type of theater, and she was well known. Apparently not known of David, King David, but she was maybe well known amongst the people as being someone who was great at speech and also good at acting. Let's read on. "And fetched thence a wise woman," we're in verse 2, "and said unto her, I pray thee, feign thyself to be a mourner, and put on now mourning apparel, and anoint thyself, and anoint not thyself with oil, but be as a woman that had a long time mourned for the dead." So Joab wants the woman of Tekoah, the wise woman of Tekoah, he wants her to be able to make herself look as though she has been in mourning, but not just in mourning for a period of time, but a long period of time, a long time mourning. So she needs to look really pretty rough before she goes in before King David. Let's read on. Verse 3. And come to the king and speak on this manner unto him. So Joab put the words in her mouth. Joab tells her what he wants her to do, and so Joab has been the mastermind behind this whole plan. What is he initially trying to do? Well, we read about it in verse 1. He realizes that David is missing Absalom, and we need to bring restoration here. So that's what Joab's agenda is to bring restoration within family. Particularly in this story, it's within family, but to bring restoration. Let's read on. Verse 4. And when the woman of Tekoah spake to the king, she fell on her face to the ground and did obeisance and said, Help, O king. And the king said unto her, What aileth thee? Do you notice that immediately David already knows that she has got something that is terribly wrong. She has been mourning for a long time. She's made herself look the part. She is acting. It is like Hollywood 101. She's put on such a great act here already, and the king already believes that she's been in mourning for a very long time, and that he asked her the question, What aileth thee? What's wrong? What's wrong with you? And look at, as we continue to read on there in verse 5, and she answered, I am indeed a widow woman, and mine husband is dead. And thy handmaid had 2 sons, and they strove together in the field, and there was none to part them, but the one smote the other and slew him. So what does she say? She says that she had 2 sons, and they got into a fight while they were out working a field together, and there was no one to part the fight, and one killed the other son. Verse 7, and behold, the whole family is risen against thine handmaid. So she says, the whole family has come up against me. And they said, Deliver him that smote his brother, that we may kill him for the life of his brother whom he slew. And we will destroy the heir also. And so they shall quench my coal which is left, and shall not leave to my husband neither name nor remainder upon the earth. Notice that she is playing on the sympathy that, I'm a widow woman, so my husband's gone. Now if they kill my other son, there is no heir, right? In which at this time, if you were a widow woman, it would have needed to have been your sons to help to take care of you, financially support you if you had sons. And so she's got this one son that's left in the story that she's created, and Joab has been the mastermind behind it. And to let her know, to let King David know that if they achieve their agenda, the people that would desire to kill the son who was the murderer, right, in the story, then she has no heir, and her husband also is left not having anyone to continue his name, and he is also dead, and he won't have anyone to continue his name. Now look at verse 8. And the king said unto the woman, Go to thine house, and I will give charge concerning thee. So now he says, well, go home. He says, I'm giving you your request. I'm going to protect your son. No one's going to be able to do anything to your son. I will spare his life and have him spared. Verse 9, and the woman of Tekoah said unto the king, My lord, O king, the iniquity be on me and on my father's house, and the king and his throne be guiltless. Now she has gone further. She's already been given the request that she's asked, but she goes on further to speak well to the king in a way. This is why she is called the wise woman of Tekoah. And she has gone on and she has added to, and she says, if for some reason this plan backfires, this charge that you have given to me, that you're going to protect my son, if this backfires, this whole situation, let it backfire on me and my family. Let it fall. Let the iniquity fall on me and my family, and not on the king. Do you see how well she is speaking? Well, guess what happens? He goes above and beyond what she has asked, and he gives her something else. Let's read on, verse 10. And the king said, whosoever saith aught unto thee, bring him to me, and he shall not touch thee anymore. He says, now, whoever is even speaking wrongly or negatively or threatening you, the wise woman of Tekoah, if she is threatened in any way, now she has protection on her as well. So not just the son, but on her as well. It's because of her wise speech. It's because of the honey that was coming out of her mouth, and she said some things that was just sweet to the king, and he wanted to give her more. Friends, I want us to all consider the king of all kings in this story, and consider how we speak to him and the things that we say to him, how much that we can influence what our king does for us and the things that we make request of. Now, this woman was putting on an act, but God knows the hearts of us, friends, and he knows your heart, and he knows when you make requests to him. He knows what reason that you desire and what answer that you desire to have. Now, before the king, at this time, David just fully on believed that she was a widow woman, and this story was her story, even though it actually wasn't. He believed that it was, and notice how her speech is influencing him to even give her more than what she's asked for. Let's read on. Verse 11. Then she said, I pray thee, let the king remember the Lord thy God, that thou wouldest not suffer the revengers of blood to destroy any more, lest they destroy my son. And he said, as the Lord liveth, there shall not one hair of thy son fall to the earth. Think about this, that now he's committed in this situation, and he has said not even a hair on his head. They're not going to be able to touch him. I'm going to protect him in a way where he's not even going to be able to be touched. No one is even going to be able to get close to him. So again, her wise speech is moving the king to give her even more than what she has asked for. Verse 12, then the woman said, let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak one word unto my lord the king. And he said, say on. So now, unrelated to her story, she has asked to speak something else to the king. And he says, go ahead, say on. Verse 12. And verse 13. And the woman said, wherefore then hast thou aught such a thing against the people of God? For the king doth speak this thing as one which is faulty, and that the king doth not fetch home again his banished. Now she's turning this whole thing around, and she says, what you just gave to me and my people that you do not know, you're allowing this exact same scenario to take place within your own family. You've got a son who's banished for killing another son. And she has found fault in him. And she says, you are faulty. And these are the people of God. Your children are the people of God. They are the heirs of God. They are part of his, right? Because of who David was and who the Israelites are and the Hebrew people, the Jewish people. She says, and you won't even, what you just answered my request of, you won't even do for your own family. You know what could have happened right there? This was the reason why she came. This is why Joab sent her. But what he could have done is gotten angry and thrown her into prison, or even worse. But that's not what happens. Let's read on. Verse 14, for we must needs die. Talking about the Hebrew people. how they're already a people of oppression. So she says, for we must needs die and are as water spilt on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. Neither doth God respect any person, yet doth he devise means that his banished be not expelled from him. She says, even God himself wouldn't do this. He's always devising a plan to reconcile his people unto him, to restore his people unto him, which is what God did for us through his son, Jesus Christ. He devised a plan to restore the banished, to restore the sinners, to reconcile us to him. She is very wise in how she has spoken again. She says, even God himself wouldn't do this, what you've done to your own son. Verse 15. Now therefore that I am come to speak of this thing unto my lord the king, it is because the people have made me afraid, and thy handmaid said, I will now speak unto the king. It may be that the king will perform the request of his handmaid. So she says that the reason why she's there is because she's in fear, and it might be that the king would restore and would answer her request. She says, the only thing I have left to do is go in before the king. You know, when all else fails, sometimes that's when we go to God finally and say, God, would you help me in this situation? See, and she has gotten to the point she is saying to King David, even though it's not the truth, because this story is not hers. She's putting on an act. But she's saying that she had nothing else to do. She was in fear, and that all she had left to do was go before the king. There's so much we can get out of this story ourselves. Verse 16, for the king will hear to deliver his handmaid out of the hand of the man that would destroy me and my son together out of the inheritance of God. Who is the destroyer? It's Satan. And God has delivered us, friends. He has delivered us by his son, Jesus Christ. We have been already delivered. Isn't this amazing? Verse 17, then thine handmaid said, the word of the Lord the king shall now be comfortable. For as an angel of God, so is my Lord the king to discern good and bad. Therefore the Lord thy God will be with thee. You know what she's just said? More honey for David, more praises. After she right in the middle, she brings about a contentious point. You see how that's sandwiched in? This is a good way we can learn how to communicate with people. To start out in the right way. Start out with honey. Somewhere in the middle, you can deal with and address the issue. But on the backside, she goes back to praising him and compares him to an angel of God and the wisdom of an angel to be able to discern good and evil and what to do. Well, what is David? He's wise, and guess what happens? He recognizes that there's something fishy about this story now. There's something kind of fishy about what's going on. Verse 18, then the king answered and said unto the woman, hide not from me, I pray thee, the thing that I shall ask thee. And the woman said, let my lord the king now speak. So now he asks her and makes a request to her. He says, tell me the truth about something. Don't hide the truth. Don't lie to me. Just tell me the truth about something. And she says, what is it? I'll answer it. I'll answer it honestly. She says, let my lord the king now speak. Go ahead and ask the question, she's saying. Verse 19, and the king said, is not the hand of Joab with thee in all this? And the woman answered and said, as thy soul liveth, my lord the king, none can turn to the right hand nor to the left from aught that my lord the king hath spoken. For thy servant Joab, he bade me, and he put all these words in the mouth of thine handmaid to fetch about this form of speech. This wise woman who could communicate well, communicate persuasively, and was wise in putting her words together. He says, to fetch about this form of speech hath thy servant Joab done this thing, and my Lord is wise, according to the wisdom of an angel of God, to know all things that are in the earth. So she compares David's wisdom again to an angel of God to know all things that are in the earth. In verse 21, and the king said unto Joab, behold, now I have done this thing. Go therefore, bring the young man Absalom again. Now, friends, the story goes on. There's so much more that takes place. But for a period of 2 years, Absalom is returned back, however, is not yet gone to see his father because David doesn't allow it for a period of 2 years. And after that 2 years, they have a reconciliation and they have a restoration. And the story goes beyond that. But for sake of staying within the context of what we have read today, David and Absalom are restored. They are reconciled. Absalom is brought back into his own home, his own land, his own kingdom. He's been restored. That is always the desire of our Heavenly Father, isn't it? To offer forgiveness, to be repentant. Think about this. But also, there's another character, the wise woman of Tekoah. She was the peacemaker. She was the one in Joab. They were the two that God used to bring back reconciliation and peace within a family. In this particular story, it happens to be a family. But maybe you know of a situation within a group of yours, a community, maybe within your own family. Maybe the story is worse than where this situation started. But you know that there's division. Someone's been banished. But there needs to be reconciliation. How may God use you in that story? And which character do you fall into? Are you King David in the story? The one who needs to offer forgiveness, to not banish someone, to push someone away, who wants to be restored, who's repentant? Or are you Absalom in the story? You're the one who's done the wrong. You need to be restored. But maybe you're Joab and the wise woman of Tekoah and desire to bring restoration where you know that something is not right. There is division within a family or within a group. You know the Father desires reconciliation. And today we can take a look and see who we are in this story and how we may be used by God to bring about the desired end. Just like what Jesus has done for us. He has restored us unto God the Father at all times, friends. We are always made good before God the Father when Jesus Christ lives inside of us. Let us be more like Him. Thank you for joining today. God bless you all.